Sometimes when you study a language, there are some basic concepts that get covered when you start and then never really get explored again because you start looking at other concepts, maybe ones that are more advanced and things like that. For instance, a lot of people, when they first learn a language, they learn the numbers or they learn the months of the year, and then they move on to learn other things without really looking about how they pronounce those topics. One example that I want to focus on today is a concept of listing, lists, giving multiple objects and talking about what are some common ways to pronounce that, because the way that you're pronouncing a list might be correct, but might also be missing some of the nuance that you'll hear native speakers using when they talk. So today we're going to be kind of checking that by looking at different patterns that lists use. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to your daily American English pronunciation show, which is Wake Up American. We are here Monday through Friday, typically between 7 to 8 a.m. New York, to make sure that you can get in your 5 to 10 minutes of pronunciation practice for today. Because that's what it takes. If you're serious about pronunciation, it takes showing up for yourself in a consistent way. I'm here to do that to help you. My name is Jeff. It rhymes with breath. That's going to give you 4 keys to an actual American English, including placement, pitch, breath, trying to weaken your consonant sounds, nor strengthen your vowel sounds. We're going to need some of these concepts as we look at our list fragments today. So let's take a look at what exactly those are. Hello to Forgotten hanging out with us. What's up, Max? So for lists, maybe you're used to pronouncing a list something like this. You know rising intonation, and falling intonation on your last one. So maybe you would say something like this. That's like score a basket or get a touchdown or net a goal. Maybe something like this. Like bread, milk, eggs. Like something like that. Score a basket, get a touchdown, or net a goal. Okay, so that is certainly one way to say a list. And that's probably the most frequent way to say a list. Okay, but there are others, much more nuanced. And I would encourage you, find more examples in your own listening. When you hear native speakers talk, whether in shows or in actual conversations, really try to pay attention. How are they actually saying the lists when they talk? Okay. So another way that you could do this, instead of using that rise, fall, again, like score a basket, get a touchdown, net a goal. Maybe instead you would use rising intonation for all of them, like score a basket, or get a touchdown, or net a goal. So I would kind of ask you, what's the difference between those two? Score a basket or get a touchdown or net a goal versus score a basket or get a touchdown or net a goal. What's the difference between those two? If you use falling intonation, that's going to make it feel like your list is complete. Score a basket or get a touchdown or net a goal. Those are the only 3 options. Whereas if you're like score a basket or get a touchdown or net a goal, that makes it sound like the list is infinite. You're just giving off examples, but there are other examples that I'm not saying. So that already is going to be a helpful technique when you're giving a list, is that if you want the list to just be examples that aren't exhaustive, there are many other examples, then you want to maybe use rising intonation at the end. Another way to approach the list, though, would be falling intonation for everything, like score a basket or get a touchdown or net a goal. Do you hear that difference between score a basket or get a touchdown or net a goal versus score a basket or get a touchdown or net a goal? That's another strategy that you can do for lists. One of the things that you may notice about that is it sounds a lot firmer. It sounds a lot more serious. Okay, score a basket, get a touchdown, net a goal versus score a basket, get a touchdown, net a goal. Okay, so playing around with the intonation patterns there. Another thing that you may hear native speakers doing with lists is you may hear more of like a wavering pattern. I was just working with a student a moment ago about this, like score a basket or get a touchdown or get net a goal. So like basket, touchdown, goal. So like something like that with a little bit more wavering intonation. Or another way that you may hear this too, like or score a basket, get a touchdown, net a goal. So that again is kind of like the opposite waivers, like basket, touchdown, goal, versus like basket, touchdown, goal. Okay. So I hope that the big takeaway that I need you to just get from this is I need you to reconsider just your approach to lists, because you're going to hear native speakers using a much wider variety than is what the textbook example is, because most textbook examples you're going to find are just going to do score a basket, get a touchdown, then a goal. But that's very much an oversimplification. So I encourage you in your own studies, just kind of listen to lists, find a list, let me know what patterns you notice when you hear native speakers talking. If you're a member in our Telegram group, just heads up, this will probably be our challenge for today, if I remember. So for those of you who don't know, we have a group on Telegram where every single day I give them a group of words to say or a challenge, and then they can send in audio of themselves trying to copy. Okay, so that way, if you're the kind of person that like wants to get some actual feedback on how you talk, that's what the Telegram group is for. Because basically, you send in audio, and we get back to you within 24 hours. So if you're in the Telegram group, study this pattern. So again, just to kind of recap them really quick: rise, rise, fall, score a basket, get a touchdown, net a goal. Fall, 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 score a basket, get a touchdown, net a goal. Okay. Wavering pattern 1, like score a basket, or get a touchdown, or net a goal. Wavering pattern 2, score a basket, or get a touchdown, or net a goal. Okay, so like just a couple different examples there to practice. All right, I'm gonna head out, practice these wavering intonations, guys, these different intonation patterns. This is key for changing how people interpret your sentences. It can make you sound either friendlier or warmer or colder or more serious. These are important aspects of pronunciation, I promise you. Otherwise, I'll be back later this week. Thank you guys for your time. I know there's a lot of resources out there, so the fact you are here for a little bit in your day is greatly appreciated. I'll see you guys later. Hope you guys have a good day. Have a good night and a good afternoon.